button. Here we go. And he's down. Missed a shard, but that's okay. Oh, hey, buddy. Yeah, as you can see, I mean, they just die instantly, basically. Hello, everyone, and welcome back to the channel. We're here in Path of Exile 2. Today, I'm going to show you the critical hit Elemental Storm Spark build. This build is really, really powerful and can absolutely dominate the end game. So if you guys are unfamiliar, this thing is the Elemental Storm. You've probably seen it already. We'll trigger on critical hits with spells. We've also come down here and taken 150% more cooldown recovery. So we're going to be able to spam it out everywhere. We've taken Arcane Surge on the other part of our tree down here. So the idea of the build here is relatively simple. We're going to take Spark. We're going to use this as our main sort of damage output. We're going to go hard into critical hit chance and damage to increase our DPS output. We're going to take some lightning exposure shenanigans, so we're going to be shocking the enemies. We have relatively decent shock chance. Now, one thing I was actually considering is removing Consider Casting here for 100% increased shock chance, because it does pair pretty nicely here, but to be honest with you, Consider Casting was just making us do so much damage. Just the enemies were just dying so quickly anyway that I felt like this was really, really good. And we were shocking the higher health targets relatively quickly anyway. So I've gone for Arcane Tempo and Consider Casting. Again, you could take this one out if you really want to run something else. I've gone for Acceleration for more projectile speed. Now, one of the other things you could put on here is increased duration. That is another option you could do. It's actually really, really nice on Sparky as well. In terms of the other skills, the Elemental Storm is up here, so we really want the increased area of effect. Now, I did take one out, and I actually had Elemental Discharge on there as well. Now, that is really, really good, but because it does consume the shock, it will potentially remove the lightning exposure, but it does last for 8 seconds. So you know what? I'm undecided on whether that one is 100% the best thing to run in here, but I was using that as my my last slot there. It doesn't want to go for me right now. That's fine. But area of effect, increased cooldown recovery rate. This is pretty obvious. Elemental damage cannot inflict the ailments. We're already doing a whole bunch of shock anyway. I just figured, you know what? Let's just make this thing do some more damage for us. Also put blind in here. So blind is really interesting. It just blinds the enemy on hit as well. As I said, the other one I was running is the Elemental Discharge, which is pretty fun as well, so you can totally do that. Or sub out anything else in your last slot there if you really want. Now, with this sort of build, you can run a Flame Wall if you want to. Flame Wall is interesting with the Spark builds, as when the Spark travels through the Flame Wall, it will catch flame and do increased damage. So this can be used to increase your damage even more. You do not need to put 4 or 5 slots in here. I've seriously only been running the base one here, and it is totally fine the way it is. It is Spell Cascade, so we get 3, and they're going to be in these 3 big circles. So we're going to litter the field with some flame walls. And this allows us to sort of run around and still just catch the flame wherever we are. To be honest with you, the build does not require Flame Wall to be powerful. This by itself will absolutely wreck most things in the endgame here at the moment. It is absolutely dominating the juiced up tier 15 plus maps, you know what I mean? So other things you could do is Orb of Storms. I don't have it equipped yet at the moment. I'm not using it at the moment. It's interesting as it will add more chaining or arcing, the chaining from the enemies, but I don't know. I've been running it like this, and this has just been absolutely destroying everything. So I'll get into the passive tree here. I'll show you what we've done. But I'll just quickly go over sort of the main concept on how we've built here, on how we increase our damage and all that sort of stuff. So we are using Eldritch Battery, so converts all energy shield to mana. Now, we are going to pair that with the Everlasting Gaze here. So 28% of maximum mana as extra maximum energy shield. So the combination here is that we're going to take our energy shield and convert it into mana, and then we're going to take a percentage of that mana and give us some energy shield back. So at the end of the day, we're ending up here with 4,600 energy shield and almost 4k mana. So this is really, really nice. This is a really, really, really nice place to be here for 4,000, just about 4,000 mana. It's going to allow us to spam out our spells like crazy, but because we have so much mana, this is actually one of the things that is increasing our damage in the build here. I will show you one of the last gems I didn't show you. It is the Archmage. We are, of course, running Archmage here. I've actually got Lightning Mastery down here in the Archmage. I've only got a 16 here. I haven't had a 20 drop for me yet, so we're only rolling with a 16 plus 1 at the moment, but I've got the quality on here. Don't forget to quality your gems too, especially with Spark and Archmage. These two absolutely benefit from the extra 20% quality. This will give you more projectiles. You see we've got 20 there. And this increases the damage. As you can see, it's 8% of damage is extra lightning damage for each 100 maximum mana you have. So the more mana we pump up, the more extra damage we get as lightning damage. So this is one of the ways that we're increasing our damage in a significant way with this setup. And that is how we're you know, peaking the damage here at over 50k. So, but don't forget that the damage that's shown in here is not including stuff like lightning exposure. It's not really including the fact that these things are moving around a lot faster now. So it's not really taking that into consideration so much. And then we're also running conductivity. So this is one of the other ones that we are running, which is the curse that'll give a minus resistance, lightning resistance to the enemies. Really, really powerful. I've got the the reduced delay, the increased effect of curses by 25%, and I've just put the impending doom on there just to have something on. You could totally take this off if you don't want to, and you don't want to increase the mana cost, because it does increase the mana cost quite a bit, but because we have so much mana, that is not really a problem at all. So what makes this build sort of tick? We need to grab a decent amount of energy shield on our gear. So that's actually really been really important. So we are going to need to take a lot of energy shield on our gear. This is one way that we're stacking up the mana, which is then going to increase all our damage and all that stuff. So I've gone for some of these pieces that have as high energy shield as I could possibly get. So our resistances are pretty low on this piece, but as you can see, we got 100%, 149% energy shield plus 100 energy shield, and then we put the 2 runes in there, which is going to boost it even more. We've got pretty close to 1,000 with the quality on there. So this is like one of the this is probably my best armor piece that I've gotten in the game thus far. It's giving us so much extra power. Just from this one piece, because it's almost 1,000 energy shield, which is pretty damn good. The other thing you want to keep your eye out for is just anything that will buff your defensive sort of stats. If you want to take some extra max mana, or if you get lucky with your rolls, if you want to try and specifically target mana, it's nice to have as well. But I think just getting a bit of resistances and focusing on energy shield on your chest piece here is really important, because, man, as you can see, you can just get such a big roll of it here if you really get good rolls. So I've basically gone for movement speed, energy shield, and resistance stuff down here. This is actually a pretty good piece that's rolled with stun threshold as well, which is okay. It's not too bad. I probably would have preferred that to roll item rarity. Then it would have been like a proper god roll. But as you can see, 322. This is a piece I crafted, and it rolled. End up with 322 with the quality. So what you want to do is stack up as much energy shield as you possibly can without completely sacrificing your resistances, right? We are going to take Chaos Inoculation, so we don't have to worry about Chaos Resistance. But other resistances are really, really important. Now, this piece rolled with some Dexterity, which isn't really helping the build, but it did roll with 28 Intelligence and 76 max mana, which is absolutely helping the build, as well as over 200 Energy Shield. I've popped a Lightning Resistance in there to help out the build. Now, we probably could sub something out here for a bit more resistance. Our resistances on the character screen are a little wonky right now. It's because I switched the boots, as this is a better pair of boots than I had before. The focus, you want to go +2 level of all spells on here. Spell, critical, hit chance, and then, any resistances or spell damage or energy shield. Energy shield is obviously, as I said before, what we really, really want to take. This one, we popped a maximum mana thing in there, because we just wanted to boost it up. We could put more in here, but we could sub that out for more energy shield as well. But I just figured, we had one of these, so I wanted to put in one of my items. Again, we've just gone for the resistance stuff, energy shield. This one did roll with some rarity, which is nice. So I've got that's a pretty good item that we got on here. Maximum life is kind of useless for what we're doing right here, so it's kind of a dead stat. We did get a little bit of maximum mana out of it. As I said, we're going the Everlasting Gaze. This thing can roll up to 30%, which is, if you're on Trade League, 30% those ones are a little bit expensive. I think they're up over Divine now, so... but you can get like 28, 29% relatively cheaply on there. This thing drops relatively often. I've had a couple of them drop in game at this point, so hopefully, yeah, you've got one of these. This is important on the build. If you're on Trade League, you can get one at a base level for pretty cheap. Okay, so the rings are really important. We need to take cast speed on the rings. This one rolled with 65% mana regen as well, which is really, really nice. It's got 22 dexterity and 58 evasion rating, which, you know, not really doing a whole lot for the build, but does have the rarity and lightning resistance, which is nice. And the physical damage to attacks is just a completely dead stat there. We'd love to re-roll that one, but I've got another ring over here. This is the best one I have with cast speed and increased rarity. I want to pop some increased rarity on the build. We've got 24% lightning damage as well as a 23 cast speed and 16 to all resistances plus extra cold resistance. And again, max life and accuracy kind of dead stats, but it's a pretty good item. It's got the cast speed. It's really important to get our cast speed up on the build. As you can see, I've got 24% over here and 23% from this one. This also... No, this one did not roll with cast speed. It did roll the spell damage as well. Now, this one is the one that rolled with cast speed, 23% as well. I got a +4. You can go up to +5 on these things. They are pretty rare and very, very expensive if you are in the trade league. +4 is really, really powerful, though, as long as you got the other stats. I think it's more important to have good stats on here, like cast speed, mana regen, etc. And have a +4, then have a +5 with complete dead stats on it, you know what I mean? So this one's really, really good. We got 3 extra damage stats there, maximum mana, +4 to our lightning spells, 23% cast speed, and 33% mana regeneration rate. This is a really, really good item. The only thing that could really be better about it is the +4 could be a +5. That's sort of the gear side of it. The belt is nothing special. It's just got some resistance stuff and some extra mana and a little bit of armor. The armor, you know, at the end of the day, our armor's still really, really low, but you know what? We have a little bit of extra physical damage resistance. So the idea with the gear, as I said, is to stack up as much energy shield as you can. We'll take cast speed where we can get it. The rings are really, really valuable for getting a lot of cast speed on your build. But then, yeah, the chest piece, big energy shield rolls on the chest piece, and then you want to take movement speed. You can get rarity on the boots. This one just had, man, it had so much energy shield that I wanted to sub it in. My flasks are nothing special, and I've just got freeze resist on here. You could totally sub this out for anything else. All right, let's go over this passive tree and see what we've done here. So we've gone for a bunch of energy shield stuff. Now, the reason is the energy shield we get back from the Everlasting Gaze. It's only 28% of our max mana at base, right? So the percentage increase nodes from the skill tree here will then increase that number for us, right? It's not affecting the amount that gets converted into mana to begin with. That is from our gear. So I know some people got really confused in the previous video on how this works. So I just wanted to point it out again. This will increase your energy shield that you are granted from the Everlasting Gaze. So it is important if you want to actually survive a few hits to still take some energy shield. If you want to go 100% glass cannon, you can take these nodes out and just go straight into spell damage and stuff instead. You totally can do that and just buff up your spark damage to even, I don't know, 60, 70, 80,000. If you really want to go with only like, you know, 1,500 shield or something, which is pretty dangerous. But I've come up here, energy shield over here. Max increase mana regeneration rate is really important. We've taken this one because it's 20% and we get the +10 to intelligence, which is really good. Cast speed again is really nice, and we've taken the crit stuff out of here, so crit chance and crit bonus. We've taken some energy shield stuff out of here. So, as I said before, we've taken a bunch of energy shield stuff because it's pretty important. This one's a great node to take, plus 20 maximum mana and 5%. So this is really, really nice. We take that one. That's one of the other reasons we like to come into this cluster. Rapid recharge is a really great node because it's 25% to both the recharge rate and the faster start. Now, this node over here, you could totally take it out because it does reduce our maximum mana by 10%. You could sub this out for more damage if you're feeling comfortable. I've taken crit stuff over here. This is just more energy shield and more increased intelligence. The 6% increased intelligence is actually really nice on the build too, because don't forget intelligence gives us more mana. So again, you can take this one out and pump up your mana even more. Let's give it a try for the video, and we'll see the difference in our DPS. Okay, so I've taken this one out here, as you can see. So let's have a look at what that's actually done. As you can see, we've gone up to 55,000 now. And if we have a look at our character sheet again, now we're up to 4,200. Our energy shield has dipped a little bit, 4,200 again. But look, now our mana is even higher and our damage is even higher. So that's sort of how the build operates. That's sort of how you can spike your mana and your damage with this sort of build. So if you want to boost your DPS and you don't mind losing a little bit of energy shield, you can reduce that one. So we'll leave that off. I subbed in the node over here. So we're coming here for overexposure, which is giving us more lightning exposure effects. So when we proc the lightning exposure with our spark, we're going to be doing even more damage. Actually, come up around here, taking more energy shield, and more resistances is all right there, but we're just going in there for the energy shield. So there are 4 nodes here. This one is just mana regeneration, but if you have a look, we've got 15%, 15%, and 40%. So 70% increase on the effect of Arcane Surge, which is active on us. So that's why we take those nodes. It's 4 points, and it's 70% increase, so that's pretty nice. But we like coming in here because a lot of elemental damage. These 4 nodes together give us like 80%, not 80%, 70% or something, 60%. Really nice to take, and we get extra cast speed. And this one over here is really, really nice. 14% elemental damage if you've dealt a critical hit recently, and 20% critical hit chance. This is a really, really nice node. This is one of the reasons we like to come up here. I've come up here for the extra energy shield since we're pretty close by. And we like taking the increased maximum mana again, so 4% increased maximum mana. And then we've just come over here for some lightning stuff. Now, you could take a couple of points out and go for lightning resistance penetration. These 3 nodes are really good, and 25% increased lightning exposure. So this is really, really good. The only reason I don't have them on is I've opted for a little bit of extra energy shield at the moment. Now, you can totally take that out and just pop these 3 nodes in. Now, we've come up here for more crit. This is just more crit stuff for spells. This one's really nice, 25%, and we get more reduced critical hit chance against us, which is actually really nice too. These nodes are good for intelligence, 25. These ones are 8. I'll come up here for the energy shield. This one is a 60% increase, so this is why we like to come up here. I mean, 60% increase in a single node is pretty good. Now, we also really, really like coming over here for raw mana, 12% increased maximum mana, and then we get the increased cost. But we don't mind about the cost because 12% is pretty big. We take the regen nodes, and then we come up here, 3% increased spell damage per 100 maximum mana. This is another way we're getting more more damage out of our mana. This is one of the really, really strong nodes for this build, Arcane Intensity. Also come up here because we're going to just be running around for the most part. We don't really want to be standing still in the build. So this is going to give us 50% increase in mana regeneration rate while we're moving around, which is really, really good. We already went over Eldritch Battery. Now, I've got a strength in here just because I had a strength gem on. But we can actually, I think we can sub that out now. That's just left over there. We've also come over here for Chaos Inoculation. So we only have the 1 life pool and we're immune to Chaos damage. That's why we didn't spec into the Chaos damage at all. Now, I just want to talk about these nodes quickly over here too, because I think it's really worth coming up here if you're going to do Spark. I'll show you why. This one is, these 2 are spell damage, but then we have spell projectile speed. And over here, 20%. So we get almost 30% extra projectile speed from these 2 nodes together, which is really good. We get 25% effect duration and another 10 and another 10. So we get 45% duration from these 3 nodes. So these 6 nodes together are buffing up our spark by a significant amount. And it's not really showing on the sort of DPS screen there. These sorts of... the duration of them out on the field doesn't really It doesn't really affect the DPS stat over there. I'm not sure why you sub in and out the the particular gem, and it just doesn't affect the formula for the DPS. So, you know, it's just how they do it. But obviously, if they're lasting out on the field longer, they're going to be hitting more things, and if they're moving around faster, they're going to be hitting more things. And after I switched to running these 6 nodes, I noticed a big increase in my in my damage output. So this is the setup. So it's relatively simple to run this build. It's a spark spam type of build. It's very, very strong, can absolutely dominate in the end game. Now, I just want to talk about one other potential thing you can do with this build. Since we have such a huge mana pool, Mind over Mana does become an interesting choice. So if you're unfamiliar, all damage is taken from mana before life. So because we have the Chaos Inoculation on, we only got 1 life. So our life pool at the moment is basically 4,200, which is pretty good for most content. Because we have really, really high DPS, we can kind of just dominate. And we don't get hit all that much. But 4,000 is enough to get tagged a couple of times with high resistances. Obviously, we have to fix up these two because they're balked around a bit. This is enough to sort of tank a hit or two while you're mapping, you know what I mean? You're still going to get one-shot by, you know, boss mechanics. So you know, it's kind of interesting. Like, you can buff it up to, like, 8,000, 9,000, whatever. You can still get absolutely dominated by the boss mechanics, you know what I mean? If you're not dodging properly. So a lot of it does come down to, can you dodge properly? But because we have such a big mana reserve, if we put Mind over Matter on, all of a sudden we're literally doubling our effective life total. And it does affect our mana regeneration rate. But I'll just quickly show you. So while we're moving around, have a look at the mana regeneration rate. We barely, I mean, it does go down, but it's going to take us a long time. Everything's going to be long dead before we ever have to worry about it. So I'll just quickly change it over and I'll show you the difference. So here is with Mind over Matter on. As you can see, we chew through our mana significantly faster, right? So I don't personally enjoy sitting there popping mana flasks all the time in gameplay. However, there is one way that you can compensate for this. So what you can do if you want to take Mind over Matter and play it safe with that extra life pool there is you can just take one of these out and put in the reduced cost by 40% skill gem. If we take one of these out, you can see it does decrease our DPS a bit, right? So you will have, let's say, roughly 10k DPS less. Obviously, projectile speed, you know, you can take projectile speed out 40%. Since we're taking some from the skill tree, you could potentially do that and sub in reduced cost there. That way you can have the extra life pool, the extra, you know, life total that, you know, Mind over Mana gives you, and you won't just totally run out like this. So I've equipped a gem called Inspiration, which gives you a 40% reduced cost. I'll show you we still have Mind over Matter on. And now, if we have a look at the spam, significantly better. You still do slowly run out of mana, but you can absolutely run it this way. And then we have just so much more survivability like this. So this is one the secondary way that you can sort of run the build. If you want to play it a bit safer, we still have some pretty crazy crazy DPS stats here in here if you have a look. So almost 55k. So that is one thing you consider. I did take the projectile speed out for that. So that's what it looks like when they're a little bit slower. I do really like the 40% projectile speed personally, but let's go over a few other things. Let's go over these jewels. Mine are not perfect in here. I've gone for crit chance and crit damage where I can get them. Obviously, not perfect roll, but increase energy shield from equipped focus. I don't think that necessarily works when we're using Eldritch Battery, but it's got the crit stuff on it, so we've subbed that one in. This one over here, we've got spell damage, mana, regen rate, and faster side of energy shield. So that one's a bit more defensive in nature. And got this one over here, which is cast speed, energy, maximum energy, shield, and recharge rate. And then a minion one, which is kind of useless for our build. But what you want to focus on is really any kind of damage stats you can get, or energy shield stats are going to really help you. The way we've pathed here, we've only gone through 3. You can path a bit differently. You can come up here and take some of these skills instead if you want. This path over here is really nice, taking the extra cast speed and all that sort of stuff for lightning skills. There's some good stuff over here for lightning skills, but the way we've pathed makes the build pretty tanky. It makes the DPS super, super high. And man, we just sort of melt through the bosses. So when you go into a boss arena, what you can do is you can put down your conductivity, you can smash down a flame wall, and then just sit there spamming spark. And some of these map bosses, even on the juiced up tier 15s, I mean, they are falling over within like three seconds, right? Let's quickly load up a map, and I'll show you what it's like in action. So let's load up a juiced 15 here on a boss map, and I'll show you what this build can do. As I said just before, we have the current setup with the reduced speed, mind over matter, and the projectile speed will be a little bit slower. As you can see, they definitely could be faster. I do like running the increased projectile speed myself, personally. But as you can see, we just like, I mean, we never run out of mana like this anyway, so we're totally fine. We could potentially even just, you know, get a few extra mana regeneration nodes and not you know, worry about it as much. But as you can see, we don't have to worry in the slightest. We just run through, everything sort of dies. As I said before, we can put Wall of Flame down for extra damage. And of course we can use our curse, but everything dies so quickly that, you know, it's nice that they get cursed. The curse is great for bosses. That's really, really what it's on the build here for. The rare monsters usually die very, very quickly. That it's just like, you know, unnecessary, completely unnecessary. We're so safe with Mind Over Matter too. It's worth considering running. It does take up a gem slot to run the decreased cost, but man, it just adds this layer of safety onto the build. And as you can see, the reduced projectile speed on the Sparky is not really too bad. We're just absolutely sort of just rolling through everything. Where are the elite enemies so I can show you? Or are they just dying too quickly? Haven't even really had to consider defending or dodging or anything right here. As I can say, we have another gear we can go, and we could even use like Orb of Storms or Mana Tempest if you really want to. Mana Tempest would just like, drain our mana so fast though. But there are other options in there if you really want to. They slowed me down for a second there, but barely even did any damage. Now I'm not really concentrating. Oh, he was a he was an elite boy, or a rare monster or whatever they're called. Let's continue. Where is this guy? Is he close? He's pretty close, but this one is closer. So look, we'll try and put the curse on him first. I mean, the curse might have activated before he died. I don't know. Missed a shard, but that's okay. Oh, hey, buddy. Yeah, as you can see, I mean, they just die instantly, basically. We'll see how quickly we can kill. Who we got? The Vial. Oh, whoops, I got wrong button. Here we go. And he's down. Aside from my incompetence by pressing the wrong button there, we absolutely slaughtered him. I don't know, it's like 3 seconds or something maybe. That's without even trying. And to be honest with you, my gear isn't 100% min-maxed either. You can push things up a bit higher here. One other thing I want to mention here in the build guide here is Leaping Ambush. I think this thing is probably worth using your Distilled Emotions on. So if you're unaware on how this works, what you can do is you can combine these 3 emotions with your amulet, and you'll get this extra node for free. So this one takes Despair and 2 Guilts, but this is 100% increase the critical hit chance against enemies at full life. I think this one's worth putting on your amulet. It's really, really powerful. This will give you a big crit chance boost against everything at full life, and you just saw how quickly everything was dying anyway. So the extra crit chance is just, you know, the icing on top. So. There's just one other thing I want to mention here is my gear does not have any extra spirit on it. If you do have a little bit of extra spirit, you can come over here and put Clarity in as a support gem into Archmage. Archmage by itself costs 100, so it will cost your entire spirit reserve if you don't have any extra spirit rolls. This is only a 10 extra cost, so you can totally get an amulet or a chest piece roll. with the extra spirit. If you do, you can pop it on here, and that gives you 30% extra mana regeneration rate. So that's really, really nice. I don't have it in here at the moment. I've only got the +1 skill as we talked about before. So that's the build, guys. This build absolutely dominates the endgame here in Path of Exile 2. And it's not fully min-max yet either. We could eke out more damage from different sources as we get further on into the endgame. And we become richer. We can potentially get some better gear items to boost even further. But as it is right now, it is absolutely dominating the endgame. And it is super, super fun to run. And it's a really fast map clear, super fast boss clear. Guys, if you enjoyed that one, consider hitting like and subscribe. Have a great day wherever you are. I hope you have a fantastic one, and I'll catch you in the next video. Take it easy.